Hello and welcome. In this lesson, you will learn how to create a link to enable users easily navigate and access other web pages or sections within the same page with a single click. Stay tuned. So, what is an hyperlink, or what we commonly refer to as a link in web development? A hyperlink, or simply a link, is any clickable element, meaning the element can be a text, it can be a button, or an image that, when clicked, directs the users to another location. Now, the link can allow users to navigate to the same page or another page or an external website. So let's look at a real world example of what a hyperlink or a link is. Now I'm on Google's search engine page and I will demonstrate to you what a link is. We've defined a link as any clickable element, which can be a text, it can be an image or a button that would direct the user to the same page or another page or an external resource. So when I come here, this see more is a link. You know that whenever I hover over it, it changes the icon to this hand type of icon, so it becomes a link, right? If I hover over this text as well, this becomes a link, because when I click on this, it is going to send me to an external website. Now the image that you have on my far right is also a link. So whenever I click on these images, it is going to direct me to a different page. So it's a link. This is also a link as well. And we can see a lot of links on this page. So we say a link is any clickable element. Any element that when you click on will take you to another page or a section within the same page or an external resource. Next, let's learn how to add a link to a web page. So how do you add a link to a web page? To add a link to any web page, you need to use the anchor element and give the anchor element an href attribute. So let's go to our code editor and let's see how that works. Alright, so we are in our code editor. This code editor is our index.html page, and we have two elements that are currently showing. One is a heading 1 element that shows the home page, and the next is a paragraph element that displays a block of text. Okay, so below this paragraph element, we want to add a link. Now the link, when clicked on, will take us to another page, which is going to be our about page. So how do we do that? First, we know that to create a link, you need the anchor element. So let's first write the anchor element. So the anchor element starts with the opening anchor tag and the closing anchor tag. So this is the syntax for writing an anchor element. Now within this opening anchor tag and then the closing anchor tag, inside it you place the text that you want to convert into a link. So I'm just going to write the text, read more. Right, now we said we need two things in order to add a link to our web page. We need the anchor element, which we've just added, and then an href attribute. So inside your opening anchor element, you need to write an href attribute. Now this href attribute accepts a value The value here would be the web address or where you want to direct the user to. Now, because we want to direct the user to the about page, we'll just simply write about.html. So once we save this file and then visit our web page, we'll see that this read more has been converted into a link. Have run my HTML page in the browser and is displaying my home page, which is in the index.html file. Now, just like I did, we have this block of text that is welcoming the user to our page, and then below that block of text is the read more that we've converted into a link. So this becomes a link. It's a text that when I click on should take the user to another page of my website. In this case, the user will be taken to the about page. So let's click on it and let's see how it looks like. Right, so you see that we are redirected to another page, which is the about us page. Let's demonstrate another example of a link. This time around, we want to direct the user to an external resource, which is going to be the Mozilla website. So how do we do that? The same thing, you have our anchor syntax, so you have our A tag and the closing A tag. And within this opening and closing A tag, we'll put in the text that we want to display. So this time the text is going to be visit our website. All right, now the last thing you need to do is to write your href attribute. So within the opening anchor tag, I write my href attribute, and this href attribute will always accept a value. So inside this quote, that is where you put the address that you'd want to direct the user to. So this time around, I've copied the address of the Mozilla website and I'm going to paste it in between the quotes. So I paste my address here. So what it means is that when this page is loaded in my browser, I'll see a text that reads visit our website. That text is now a link. So once I click on this text, it's supposed to take the user to this website, which is developer.mozilla.org website. So let's go to our web page and then see the results. Here we are on our web page and we see two links now. The first one says read more. The next one is the text that we just added, that we converted into a link. So the text says visit our website. Now when I click on this text, it's now a link. So it's going to redirect me to an external website. So let's see the results. I click on this and then it goes to developer.mozilla.org, which is the web address I place inside my href value. When developing web pages or a website, you would usually have more than one file. So you would have more than one HTML file. So for instance, you would have a home page, which is a home.html file. You would have an about page, which would going to be the about.html file. You would have a contact.html file. Now the question is, how do we link these files in our HTML document? If I am on the home.html file, but I want a link to the about.html file or a link to an image in my images folder, how would I achieve that? The first thing we want to learn is how to link files that are in the same directory or the same folder. Now with this, I'll jump to my Canva and then give you an illustration of what I mean before we move on to our code editor. So let's jump straight in. Okay, so I have my Canva opened and I will just click on the tools for illustrative purposes. Now I have a folder here, right? This is my folder, and within this folder I have three files. One is my index.html, the other one is my about.html, The next one is my contact.html. I want to link these files, meaning that in my index.html, probably I want to create a link that will take the person to my about.html. And if I'm in my about.html, I want to create a link that will take the user to my contact.html. How do I do that? So I have my code editor opened, and at the sidebar, the right sidebar, I have a project folder. In the project folder are three HTML files: about.html, contact.html, and index.html. We would want to look at how to link these files in our index.html page. Now, this is my index.html that has just two contents: a heading one that says homepage and a block of text that welcomes us to our page. The first thing I want to do here is how to add a link. Now, we know we would use the anchor tag to add a link to our HTML document or our web page. So how do we go about it? First, we'll have our opening a tag, then the closing a tag. Now, within this a tag, you specify the text you would want to display. So in our case, the text I want to display would be about us. Next, in the opening a tag, you need your href. The href attribute is what helps us link files or link items, elements on our web page. So I'll have my href here. Then in between this quote is where I will put my address. That's the URL or the location I would want to go when somebody clicks on the text about us. Now let's see how we approach this. I want to link this href to the about.html file that I have here. How do I do that? First, we will notice that all of these files are in the same directory or the same folder. The folder is labeled project, and then we have about, contact, and index.html file all sitting in the same folder. So if you want to link a file that is in the same directory, what you need to do is simply write the file name or the file path. So here our full file path becomes about.html. So what I will do here is in between the quotes, I'm going to write about.html, and that is it. Simply have linked my index page to the about page. So if I save this file and then visit my web browser, I should see this text displayed about us. So let's go to our web browser and view our link. Here we see our index.html file being displayed on our web browser as our web page, and we have a text about us. This about us text is what the link is, what we call the link. So we said the link can be any element. It can be a text, it can be a button, it can be an image that a user can click on, and is going to direct them to another page or another website. Now this about us is an HTML file that we have on the same directory. So once I click on this about us, it's going to link to my about.html and then display the content I have in the about.html. So let's click on this and see. So you see now it takes me to my about us page, and you see that when we go to our code editor, the same content is what we have displayed on our web page. And in our URL, you see that we have the about.html. So back to our code editor, let's open our about.html file here. And then you see that this is the content about us, and this is the block of text that we have over here. Now let's go back to our index.html and let me demonstrate that concept again. If you want to link a file and that file is in the same folder as where you are starting from, your entry point, what you need to do is just write the name of the file. So in our case, it's going to become about.html, and that is it. Once you click on the text here, it's going to be linked to your HTML file or any other file that you want to link to. Now I have a second file, which is the contact.html. If I open this file, I'll see my contact details being displayed. What I want to do is, in the index.html, which is my home page, I want to link the contact.html file to my index.html. It's going to follow the same procedure. I'll write my anchor tag, which is my A tag, close my anchor tag, then within the opening and closing anchor tag, I'll give the name of the text I want to display. So in this case, my text would become contact us. Now I'll move to my opening anchor tag and then write my href attribute. Without the href, you can't link to a page or a resource. So I have my href attribute, and this href is expecting me to input the address that I want to link the contact us to. Now, because the file I'm looking for is in the same folder as my index.html, what I'll do here is to just write the path. So I'm just going to write the name of the file, which is contact.html. And when I save this file and visit my web page, if I click on the text contact us, I'm expecting it to display the content I have in my contact us. So let's visit our web page and demonstrate it. Alright, so this is our web page. We are initially showing our home page, which is our index page, and now we have two links, one about us, one contact us. When I click on this link, it is going to pull the content I have in my contact.html and display it on the web page. So let's see. And that's it. I now have my contact us page showing. We've looked at how to link files that are in the same directory. So what if we have another directory or folder and we have files in that folder and we want to link to that files? How do we go about it? So in this session, we're going to learn how to move down to a subdirectory. A subdirectory can simply be a subfolder. All right, so let's see an illustration. So let's go to our Canva and let me explain this to you. So let me pull the tools, and here we have files in a different directory. So the directory we are focusing on is our resources. So we have another folder called resources. In our project folder, we have another folder called resources. Now these resources contain the following file. So we have this teach.png inside the resource, we have reports.png in it, and we have faqs.png in it. What we want to do is, in our index.html, we want to link to this faqs.html. how do we go about it? Okay, so because the file I want to access is in a different directory, which is the resources directory, I need to first go into the resource directory, then access the file I want to link, which is my faq.html page. So let's see how to do that. So I am in my code editor, then I write my anchor tag and the closing anchor tag. Right here I want to put a text that says FAQ over here, and then I have my href, which will point to the particular resource that I want to have access to. Now this is where the magic happens. I would first need to go into that directory, so I would write resources. This will help me enter into the resource directory, and then from there I'll put a // then the name of the file I want to access, which was going to be faq.html. So this is how to link a file in a different directory. Let's go to our browser and see the results. So here we are on our home page, and you can see the link I added is displayed on the home page, which is the FAQ link. Now this link directs me to a different file. So once I click on this link, it needs to redirect me to the FAQ page. So let's see. Right, so now I'm in my frequently asked questions page. So this is how to link to a different file in a different resource or a different directory. So assuming I'm in my FAQ page and I want to link to a file that is in my parent directory, how do I do that? Right, so now I'm in my FAQ document and I want to link to a file that is in my parent folder, which is my contact.html file. How do I do that? First, I need to move out of my resource directory. Why? Because the faq.html is inside this resource directory. So I need to jump out of this resource directory, and when I jump out, it's going to take me to my parent directory, and inside the parent directory I can now have access to my contact.html. So let me demonstrate. So we're going to have our anchor tag with our closing anchor tag. Then here I want to link to a contact as test. So how do I move out? So this is my href. Now because I'm in the resource directory, I need to jump out of it. So how do I jump out? I'll need 2 dots. So I'm just going to write ... Then that will cause me to jump out of that directory, and then the name of the file I want to now link, I will say contact.html. Then I'll save my file. So this ... is basically jumping me out of my current directory into my parent directory, right? And then inside my parent directory I can now access the file or link to the file I want. In this case the file is contact.html. so let's preview it on our browser and see if that works. Yeah, so we're back to our web browser and it's displaying our frequently asked question page. Now we want to link to the contact us page. So let's see if this is going to take us to our contact us page. Yep, and we jump straight into the contact us page. So I'm just going to zoom in for you to see the page. Yep, and we are inside the contact us page. So let me go back and then demonstrate to you how this works. Yeah, so this is the trick. Look at the directory that you are in and then jump out of that directory. So I'm currently in the resource directory or the resource folder. So I need to jump out of that folder for me to go to my parent folder. So the resource folder is a child, right? So I need to jump from the child to my parent. And how do I do the jump? I'll use these two dots. So these two dots makes me jump out of my child into the parent or the main folder. Then in that folder, I can now access my contact.html page. Let me demonstrate another one to you. So we are in our FAQ page and we want to link to our home page. Okay, now we will have our href here, and because the faq.html file is inside our resource directory, we need to jump out of it. So how do we do the jumping? We just write two dots and that will jump us out of the resource directory. And when we jump out, we land in the parent directory. Now the index.html file, which is this file, is inside the parent directory, which is the project, right? So to access the index.html file, we'll do a // and the name of the file, which is going to be index.html. Then I save my file. So this is how to jump out or to link to the parent directory when you are in a child directory. So let's go to our web browser and then see the results. So I'm back in my web browser and I have my home page link, right? When I click on this home page, it will take me to my home page, and here I have my home page. So from the home page, I can jump into my About Us page, right? Now from this same home page, I can jump into my FAQ page, and then from my FAQ page, jump out to my home page. Okay, so this is how we are using link to link the various files that we have in our directory or our folder. And that is one of the key things in building web pages. Right, so now let's assume we have another folder inside our resources folder. So let me pull up my draw tool. So we have this downloads folder that is listed inside the resources folder, right? And inside this download folder, we have a file that we've called or we've labeled download.html. Now I want to be in this file, which is the download.html, and then link to my faq.html. Now this faq.html is inside my resource directory. How do I do that? So let me recap the scenario again. I'm in the downloads folder inside a file called download.html. But from here, I want to link to a file that is inside the resources folder called faqs.html. What do I do? Right, so let me illustrate it to you and then we'll jump into the code. First, I need to jump out of my downloads folder. Okay, so from here, let me pick a different marker. From here, I need to jump out to this folder. Now, how do we jump out? If you are inside a folder and you want to jump out, obviously use your two dots. So the two dots will jump me out of my downloads folder, and that will land me into my resources folder. And then from the resources folder, it's easier for me to have access to my file, which is my faqs.html. So let me demonstrate that to you, and I hope that would make it clearer. So this is my download.html file or my HTML document, and I want to link to the faq.html file. Now the faq.html file is in a directory called resources, and my download.html file is in a directory called download. So what I need to do to link to the faq.html file is to first jump out from the download folder. Once I jump out from the downloads folder, I'm going to land into the next directory that is up on top of my previous one. So when I jump out of the download, I'm going to land into my resources directory. And in my resources directory, I can now have access to my faq.html file. So let me demonstrate the process to you. So first, you need to always have your anchor tag. So I have my anchor tag here. And then the text I want to display, right? I'll say FAQ. Then I go into my opening anchor tag, have my href. Then first I have to jump out from the downloads directory. So I'm going to do ... and that would automatically land me to my directory that is up on top of the download. So I land into my resources. Now in the resources, I'll have access to my file. So I'm just going to do / then the name of the HTML file or document. So I'm going to write faq.html. And that should be it. Okay, so let's assume I'm still in my downloads.html file. But this time around, I want to link to my home page. My home page is the index.html file. Now, the index.html file is in my project directory. So I have two sub directories after my main project directory. I have my resources, and then inside the resources I have my download. Then inside the download I have my download.html file, which is currently being displayed here, right? And then the goal is to link to a file, this file, index.html file, right? So let me demonstrate that. First, we'll have my anchor tag. Then I write my text here, home page. Inside the href, I would first jump out of the download into the resources and then jump out from the resources, and that will take me to my project directory. So the first jump becomes ... that takes me to my resources. Jump out again ... that will take me to my project directory, and the project directory I will access my index.html file. Okay, so this first dot is jumping me out of my current directory into my next directory. Then in the next directory, I will jump out and then go to the desired destination. And then at the destination, I'll have access to my index.html file. So let's save this file and then visit our web browser to see if we have been able to link to both the FAQ page and then the home page. So this is my downloads page, and I have two links. One that should take me to my FAQ page, and the other that should take me to my home page. So let's try with the FAQ page. I click on this and I need to navigate to my FAQ page, right? I go back, want to test my next link, which is the home page. I click on this and it should take me to the home page of my website. Then I'm at the home page. Okay, so this is how we link files in our HTML document, and we've linked that being able to link the files give the users the ability to navigate to different parts of your website, that's different web pages, or to an external website. That would be the end of today's lesson, which focuses on links, helping users navigate to different parts of your website or to an external website. If If you found value in this lesson, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you need any clarification, please drop it in your comments. I'll be sure to reply to you. All right, see you the next time and keep coding.